The Prison Boss Narcissist, Her Many Lovers. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I introduced the Prison Boss Narcissist to you some time ago in relation to a lady called Cherie Spencer, who made her husband's life a living hell with regard to the devaluing abuse that she put him through. I've explained in separate parts why she is a narcissist. And interestingly, the press, particularly the Daily Mail, almost appear to have been engaging in the dropping of evidence and information about her periodically, which just reveals yet more about the way that she behaves and confirms that she is very much a narcissist. To begin with, there was her conviction for assault and a course of coercive control against her husband, Richard. We then learned more of the behaviours which showed that this had gone on for a long period of time and demonstrated a range of devaluing behaviours commensurate with the behaviour of a narcissist that engages in domestic abuse. Then came the information about the fact that she had been cheating on him with somebody else and that she was actually cheating with the partner of one of her close friends, demonstrating a complete absence of emotional empathy for her husband because she was committing the act of infidelity in relation to him, that she was dumping on her friendship by having sex with her friend's partner, and the fact that she was stringing along the hapless individual, the partner, believing that there was more to the relationship than there actually was. Therefore, in the circumstances, 3 people affected by her sense of entitlement, lack of accountability, and absence of emotional empathy. She is an excellent example of a particular type of narcissist with some very prevalent behaviours which have been caught in evidence by virtue of the testimony of Mr. Spencer and also, of course, her conduct in relation to other people and activity that was caught on a nanny cam. She ended up going to prison. But there's even more that has come to light from her, which again emphasises the nature of her narcissism. James Fielding reports for the Mail, sex-obsessed prison reform boss Cherie Spencer, who was jailed for a brutal campaign of abuse and assaults against her husband, was juggling 2 secret lovers behind his back. The fuel matrix of Cherie Spencer included her intimate partner primary source, Richard. He was easy to control. She bullied him, intimidated him, used physical violence against him. She would do things such as defecate on the floor and command him to clean it up. She would hit him. She would call him bad names. She would insist on him doing the housework on top of him doing a job. She belittled him. She withdrew sex from him. And thus he was easy to control. Evidently a kind and compassionate man, he'll have been hugely hurt by the way that he was treated and will have responded emotionally, thus providing her with large amounts of fuel. He earned good money, which enabled them to have a large house and a decent lifestyle, which was a residual benefit. She also had the facade of the supposedly idyllic marriage. And thus she was able to continue to abuse this man whilst secure the prime aims from him as the intimate partner primary source as he experienced a sustained devaluation. Nevertheless, typical of many narcissists, and her as a somatic narcissist, you can see as a consequence of pictures from the other videos that she would take pride in her appearance, that she was highly sexualized, that she had expensive tastes, that she liked to show off. She was very much a somatic narcissist. And in the circumstances, this led to her to use sex as a means not only to control her husband, by no doubt granting lots of sex in the beginning and then withdrawing from it, but also having sex with other people outside of the marriage. The article explains sex-obsessed prison reform boss Cherie Spencer, who was jailed for a brutal campaign of abuse and assaults against her husband Richard, was juggling 2 secret lovers behind his back. During her 20-year reign of terror, Sadistic Spencer, 46, was captured on nanny cam, attacking cowering IT worker Richard, 47, with wine bottles, carving knives and kitchen forks. Police received 36 shocking video clips, 9 phone audio recordings and 43 pictures of injuries as evidence before she was sentenced to 4 years at Hull Crown Court in March 2023. A source close to Spencer has told the Daily Mail that unbeknown to her husband, Richard, father to their 3 daughters, she was having an affair with her best friend Caroline Grant's partner, baker Adrian Taylor, age 52, and a second married lover in Dublin called Paul. Spencer also told her lovers, who were unaware of each other, compartmentalisation, that she intends to revert back to her maiden name McCann on her release and go brunette so she won't be recognised. Prior to her arrest, Cherie and her secret second lover met up in hotels in London and York close to her marital home, and she bragged to friends he was her friend with benefits. So she wasn't exactly subtle about the fact that she was conducting an affair. She was belittling her husband, not directly in relation to this, but belittling him by telling friends that what was going on. The gentleman she was having an affair with was so infatuated with her, he offered to leave his wife for her, interference in relationship, and give her £10,000 towards her legal bills, residual benefits. Friends of Richard, who according to the judge had been the victim of the worst case of controlling and coercive behaviour she had ever seen, say he was alerted to the affairs by a former friend of Spencer following her sentencing. The friend, who declined to be named for fearing reprisals from her on release, sent Richard a detailed letter outlining the affairs. Thus, a friend blabbed about Cherie Spencer's infidelity. The friend said, "Cherie might be behind bars, but she's not a person to get on the wrong side of. It was an open secret among her circle that she was seeing Adrian and Paul at the same time. After everything she put Richard through, he deserved to know the truth. Caroline was furious with Cherie for stealing her partner after she opened up her home near York to Cherie when her marriage to Richard was crumbling. Adrian is infatuated with her and has been visiting her at Askham Grange, an open women's prison in North Yorkshire. There is an excellent example of an individual who has become infatuated with a narcissist, that notwithstanding the fact that she has been convicted of violent offences against her husband, the fact that she has repeatedly cheated on her husband, the fact that she has ended up in prison, he still wants a relationship with her. He, of course, if he were granted such a relationship and became the intimate partner primary source, would only end up being devalued and being subjected to the same treatment that Richard Spencer has got. But that individual clearly believes that somehow perhaps Richard deserved the treatment that he got, that somehow he will fare better, that he's more of a man, that perhaps Richard was a wimp and didn't fight back, that he wouldn't allow her to treat him in that fashion. Apparently, Adrian's told her he plans to find them a home to move in together when she is released. The friend says she doesn't really love him, correct, and just uses him for money and sex, the same as Paul, both of which, of course, are residual benefits. Paul has told Cherie his wife isn't in the same league as her. Cherie uses sex to keep them wrapped around her little finger. As you know from my work, sex is a major weapon of mass seduction. All she wants is someone to spoil her when she gets out. She's vowed to change her name back to her maiden name McCann, or a complete change altogether so people won't recognise her in the street, nullification of threat to control by changed identity. The video evidence used to convict Spencer was shown on Channel 5's shocking documentary, My Wife, My Abuser, The Secret Footage. She had claimed Richard was the abuser, threatening to go to the police. Projection. Spencer was only jailed when a shocked friend of Richard saw some of the nanny cam footage and sent it to the police. He suffered financial abuse as a consequence of racking up debts to the tune of £45,000, as his wife would not contribute to paying bills as an act of punishment. Devaluation through financial control. Thus, further evidence that demonstrates all the more that Cherie Spencer is a narcissist, one that uses sex as a means of controlling 2 men besides her husband. Like many somatic narcissists, she's hypersexualized and she doesn't love those individuals, but her narcissism leads her to use sex for the purposes of controlling those individuals, causing her to interfere in the relationship between a friend and her partner, and to cause another individual to become so infatuated with her that he visits her in prison, notwithstanding what she's been convicted of, and wants to have a life with her thereafter. Should that happen, and he's made the intimate partner primary source, he will very much come to regret what has occurred. But this is an excellent example of this violent somatic narcissist, one who operates with a sense of entitlement, that finds it amusing to tell her friends that she's cheating on her husband, underpinning the fact that she has no emotional empathy whatsoever. But of course, once again, the lower evolved narcissist that she is comes unstuck, because as a consequence of trying to assert control over the friends by bragging about the fact that she's got 2 further men on the go besides her husband, one at least disapproves to the extent of telling her husband about what was going on, and thus she becomes exposed. This is invariably the problem that the particularly lower evolved narcissists have, and as I have explained in the video, give them enough rope. As a consequence of the need to control people, the narcissist will engage in certain behaviours which will then provide evidence of wrongdoing, whether it's violence, whether it's psychological torture, whether it's financial abuse, whether it's infidelity. The evidence accrues and can then be used against them at a later juncture. This was the case with Cherie Spencer, demonstrating that her method of control was fairly rudimentary, that she thought that bragging to her friends about having 2 men on the go besides her husband would be something that they would also find funny, showing that she doesn't understand people because of a lack of emotional empathy, and that somehow that people would be admiring her for her prowess in that regard. Undoubtedly, Cherie Spencer, when appropriately groomed, is physically attractive, and undoubtedly, as a hypersexualized individual, is easily able to draw men in, and she will continue to do so. There is no doubt that on her release, she will utilize the man that's infatuated with her to continue to use him to get to the prime aims, and then he will be devalued and eventually disengaged from. She will cheat on him. The pattern continues. Notwithstanding the fact that this woman has been exposed in a national newspaper, and of course she seeks to nullify the threat to her control by that exposure through changing her name and seeking to change her appearance, there still will be people that will be aware of what she has done, but she will still be able to find new victims. She'll still be able to hunt down men, draw them in utilizing sex, and she'll continue to mistreat them because she cannot help what she does, because she's driven by her narcissism. That isn't to make an excuse for her behaviour, but it's simply to explain that she will not change. Even though she has been convicted of violent offences, of coercive control, that she has been roundly exposed in a national newspaper and on a television programme of abusing a kind and decent man, even though she has been exposed for being somebody that has had multiple affairs, it won't change her, because her behaviour is pathologically entrenched, and she will continue always to go along the same path, drawing people in, abusing them and spitting them out, as she then moves on to the next victim, and then the next victim, and then the next victim. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.